Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, President Trump and the first major shakeup of his administration. Who's out of his job? Also tonight, the urgent manhunt all afternoon, a driver hitting people, including children, outside a church preschool. And Diane Sawyer here tonight with actor Kelsey Grammer, Dr. Fraser Crane, and what he reveals. First tonight, President Trump removing embattled National Security Advisor Mike Waltz from his post under intense scrutiny after mistakenly adding a journalist to a Signal group chat. Then the defense secretary sharing specific details of a U.S. military strike on Yemen on that chat. Who will take his place for now and what he might now do instead? Also breaking tonight as we come on, what we've now learned after a major manhunt today after a horrific scene outside a church preschool. Police say a driver running into multiple people. The victims include children. The storms hitting tonight, severe thunderstorms, dangerous winds, and possible tornadoes. Cars washed away with drivers inside. The new storms from Texas all the way to Pennsylvania and New York tonight. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast. The terrifying moment during a Major League Baseball game, a fan falling from the stands right onto the field. Stunned players witnessing it, their heads down in prayer as teams rushed to the fan in critical condition. Tonight, the breaking developments involving Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today and what this now means. We're monitoring the images coming in at this hour from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Tonight, battling a large fire there. The measles scare at a major American airport tonight. A traveler unknowingly infected with measles passing through a terminal 2 days in a row. The American town suddenly overrun by bison. They're everywhere. At the Diane Sawyer interview tonight, he became famous on Cheers.
Are you people really this ignorant, or you just do this to torture me?
Sometimes the two go hand in hand.
Dr. Fraser Crane, actor Kelsey Grammer, and what he was battling the entire time.
It's remarkable I survived some of that.
It was tender and touching that they didn't know exactly how to reach you.
Yeah.
What that famous cast was unable to do, he reveals what drove the pain and how he's now trying to help others. Diane, right here tonight.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we have news coming in tonight on this major manhunt after a driver plowed into people, including children, outside a church preschool. Also, these dangerous storms moving in. But we begin tonight with President Trump and the first major shakeup, removing National Security Advisor Mike Waltz from his post. Waltz was the one who set up that group chat on the Signal app with the defense secretary and others about an imminent attack in Yemen. Waltz accidentally including a journalist in that chat group. And then at the president's cabinet meeting just 24 hours ago, Waltz was seen checking that same app on his phone and the names that were revealed. This morning, Waltz was seen arriving at the White House, the president informing him of the move, the president then announcing the change on social media this afternoon. And the president revealing Secretary of State Marco Rubio will now also serve as the National Security Advisor, at least temporarily. The first time someone has shared these two positions since the Nixon administration. And tonight, the role Mike Waltz might now have instead. ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott leading us off. She's at the White House tonight.
Mr. President, why now on Mike Waltz?
Tonight, President Trump announcing the first shakeup of his second term. His embattled National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is out. Cameras catching Waltz as he walked to the West Wing early this morning, where the president delivered the news. Trump waiting until the 100th day of his presidency had passed to remove Waltz. But his departure comes as no surprise. The former Florida congressman embarrassed the White House and created a national security incident by starting a group chat among top administration officials on the commercial messaging app Signal to discuss sensitive details of military strikes in Yemen, and included a reporter by mistake. At the time, President Trump said Waltz had learned his lesson.
And probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
That's sir, I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room.
But yesterday at the president's cabinet meeting, cameras capturing Waltz checking Signal on his phone. Chats visible with Vice President J.D. Vance, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, too. At that meeting, Waltz lavishing praise on the president, who would boot him from his job just 24 hours later.
It's an honor to serve you in this administration, and I think the world is far better, far safer for it.
Today, the president announcing he would be moving Waltz to another role, posting on social media, "I will be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next United States ambassador to the United Nations." President Trump also saying Rubio would now become his national security advisor on an interim basis. That news came as a surprise to Rubio's spokesperson at the State Department when she was informed by reporters.
It is clear that I just heard this from you. This is the magic.
No heads up that this was coming.
The miracle of modern technology and the social media. So that is an exciting moment here. I think that, as I know Secretary Rubio, this is a man who, as I think you all know, has worn several hats from day one.
Rubio will now become the first person to serve simultaneously as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor since Henry Kissinger filled both roles for President Nixon. The question now, how Marco Rubio will balance these two roles. As Secretary of State, he is often traveling the world, meeting with foreign leaders, but national security advisors typically spend a lot of time here at the White House briefing the president on the most urgent threats to our nation and national security concerns, David.
Obviously, two major roles now for one person. Rachel, while we have you, there's another developing headline tonight involving the president. A federal judge now ruling the administration unlawfully cited the Alien Enemies Act in deporting Venezuelan immigrants, some alleged gang members.
Yes, David, Judge Fernando Rodriguez, who was appointed by President Trump, has now ruled and barred the Trump administration from using the centuries-old law to deport Venezuelan migrants from southern Texas, calling it unlawful. This ruling is limited in scope, but it is the furthest that any federal judge has gone so far, David.
All right, Rachel Scott leading us off tonight from the White House. Rachel, thank you. There's also breaking news just coming in, news of an arrest at this hour after a horrific scene at a church preschool, a driver plowing into people. Some of the victims were children. Police say the driver then ran off. But tonight he is now in custody after warning the public all afternoon that he was armed and dangerous. ABC's Faith Abube is on the scene in South Carolina.
Tonight, the horrific scene in South Carolina after authorities say a driver slammed a vehicle into multiple people, including children, before fleeing the scene armed with a knife. Police investigating this as a possible intentional act, launching a massive search, identifying the suspect as Justin Colin Adams.
We're being advised possibly two subjects that were run over. We have PD on scene trying to gather further.
The horror unfolding outside a church preschool on Sullivan's Island around 1 p.m. 2 children and 1 adult injured. First responders treating victims on the scene.
There was no altercation. It was some children outside of what is known as a preschool, and the vehicle struck the children and the adult.
Police launching drones, setting up checkpoints, checking every car in and out of the island. And late today, police taking the suspect into custody, saying they found him on a boat after an hours-long search. And David, as for the victims, the injured adult is still in the hospital, but in stable condition. A child was treated and released from that hospital. Another one was treated at the scene. David.
Faith Abube there on the scene for us. Faith, thank you. Now to this dangerous storm system moving in tonight. A new round of storms yet again, stretching from Texas to Pennsylvania to New York. In fact, there are already tornado warnings in Texas as we're on the air tonight. 30 million Americans in the path of these slow-moving storms tonight. Flooding rains and straight-line winds near Houston already. 2 people killed in Oklahoma when floodwaters swept them away inside their vehicles. And in Blanchard, Oklahoma tonight, a community cut in two. The road was washed away, a giant crater, stranding families there. And a utility pole exploding near Pittsburgh. In fact, nearly 250,000 people in Pennsylvania tonight without power. Lee Goldberg standing by to time this out, and Maria Villarreal with the images coming in tonight.
Powerful storms on the move tonight.
Oh my God!
For the 4th night in a row, millions under threat from severe storms and record-breaking deadly flooding. Late today, a tornado reported on the ground north of Austin near Killeen, Texas. Overnight north of Houston, 70-mile-an-hour straight-line winds slamming Leona, Texas. North of Dallas, Freddie Chang's house in Carrollton scorched.
I heard a loud boom.
After a lightning strike set it on fire. South of Oklahoma City in Blanchard, catastrophic damage.
It's been raining here for days. The ground is soaked, and it actually gave way right here on this county road. You can see a 30-foot drop down, and actually families are on the other side, 10 of them stranded.
One of them, John Tees, speaking with our affiliate KOCO by cell phone.
They asked me to go ahead and park my truck across the road, which I parked my son's truck. You can see it down there. That way no one accidentally came through and got, in trouble.
Authorities in Oklahoma say 2 people were killed in the state overnight when their vehicles were swept away by floodwaters.
David, right now, county leaders are racing to build a new road just about a mile from where I am standing down the road. Right now, they're trying to get to those families that have been stranded, especially with more severe weather headed this way in just a few days. David?
Yeah, that's really something tonight, Maria. Thank you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our New York station, WABC, back with us again tonight. He's tracking it all for us. Hi, Lee.
David, hi. Storm fatigue, Texas getting hit again. Active tornado warnings. We had a chaser confirm a large tornado near Briggs. It's headed south toward Andis. If you're in the track of the storm, take cover. We also have flood watches toward Oklahoma City. More storms coming out of Ohio are heading into power compromised Pennsylvania. 60-mile-per-hour gusts there. They're headed north. Tomorrow, that threat is pretty expansive. It goes all the way from Texas into the Tennessee Valley, from, let's say, Austin all the way up to Nashville. And those area storms, they're going to expand eastward as we go into the weekend into the northeast. We're talking waves of showers, not a washout, but it starts a stretch of unsettled weather deep into next week. David?
Lee Goldberg, we appreciate it as always. We turn now to the terrifying moment during a Major League Baseball game, the fan falling from the stands right onto the field in Pittsburgh, stunning the players who witnessed it, many bowing their heads in prayer as emergency teams rushed into that fan, who is now in critical condition tonight. Here's Will Reeve.
Tonight, this video capturing the terrifying moment a man fell from his seat at Pittsburgh's PNC Park, landing on the field, now in critical condition.
We've had one person fall out of the stands, 20-plus feet. We've got 3 medics working to assess and extract the patient now.
The 20-plus foot fall coming in the 7th inning of the Pirates game against the Chicago Cubs.
When you look at it like in slow-mo, he just looked like he was like jolting up because it was a huge play.
Bobby Ketter unintentionally caught the moment on video.
It happened so fast, and then like we looked over at the Pirates, and they all had their hats off, and that's when I knew it was pretty serious.
Players frantically trying to alert umpires and security. The game paused, players taking a knee as medical personnel attended to the man, taking the fan away on a gurney and rushing him to the hospital.
Obviously a very scary moment, and just kind of you kind of see like everybody's taking a knee and just praying and hoping everything's okay.
Today, Pirates chairman Bob Nutting stating, "Pirates baseball is a community, and our fans are like family. In times like these, we must come together, support one another, and keep him and his loved ones in our prayers."
David, Pittsburgh Public Safety says the incident is being treated as accidental, and the man remains in the hospital in critical condition. David?
All right, Will Reeve tonight. Thank you, Will. There are also major developments tonight involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted. The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to sexually exploit both women and men for decades. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution charges that accused him of coercing alleged victims into prolonged, drug-fueled sexual activity that he called freak-offs and threatening them into silence. At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes, as his lawyers argue the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
Jury selection begins Monday, David. Prospective jurors have already started answering written questions. If Combs is convicted, he faces what could amount to a life sentence. David?
Aaron Katursky, who's following this case for us. Aaron, thank you. Now to the economy tonight and the impact of President Trump's tariffs. Tonight, General Motors, the latest corporation to change its outlook. GM now predicting earnings will be down between $4 and $5 billion this year due to the tariffs, almost 1/3 of their earlier expectations. GM's CEO tonight saying they plan to leave car prices for consumers at about the same level. Also tonight, candy maker Hershey reporting its first quarter earnings are already down, and they expect tariffs to cost them $20 million a quarter. Hershey imports cocoa beans from around the world. And one more note on the economy here. McDonald's now reporting sales fell 3.6% during the first quarter of this year. The company tonight saying that's the largest decline since the pandemic. The company's CEO saying consumers are grappling with, quote, economic uncertainty. When we come back tonight, the measles scare at a major American airport tonight. An infected traveler passing through a terminal 2 days in a row. Also, the warning tonight if you have an iPhone involving hacking and what you can do. Diane Sawyer is here with actor Kelsey Grammer, and then the images coming in right now. This is a large fire burning, smoke visible for miles. The images coming in from Cape Cod, Massachusetts tonight. We'll have more on this in a moment. Tonight, the images coming in at this hour, a major brush fire burning near a military base in Sandwich, Massachusetts. The fire starting as a controlled burn at Joint Base Cape Cod, suddenly growing out of control. Multiple fire departments now responding tonight. Choppers dropping water from the air. No injuries reported. Tonight from Chicago, health officials are warning travelers about possible measles exposure at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. They say an infected adult was in Terminal 1 from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Tuesday, and then again on Wednesday of last week. That person who lives in Cook County testing positive for measles 2 days later. Tonight, the FAA also warning travelers who go through Newark Airport that they could soon face significant delays in the weeks and possibly months to come. The FAA says there is a staffing shortage of air traffic controllers who normally monitor Newark airspace. There's also ongoing runway construction. Departing flights are averaging 75-minute delays, some arrivals running more than 5 hours behind schedule. When we come back here tonight, the warning if you have an iPhone. Also, the small town overrun by a herd of bison. You'll see the images. And Diane Sawyer is here with Kelsey Grammer, what he reveals tonight. To the index of other news tonight, a warning for millions of iPhone users about a potential security risk involving a popular feature. Researchers at Oligo Security say they discovered major flaws in the AirPlay feature, which allows you to play or stream what's on your phone on other devices. They say it could also allow hackers to potentially access your iPhone and iPad, infecting them with malware and potentially taking control of your devices. So Apple now releasing a software update to secure your devices. Go to the settings on your phone and look for the update tonight. This evening, May Day protests taking place across the U.S. and around the world. Demonstrators marking International Workers' Day. Here in New York City, demonstrators packing Union Square in Manhattan, many protesting President Trump's immigration policies, his diversity and inclusion crackdown, and the firing of federal workers. A huge crowd turning out for a rally featuring Senator Bernie Sanders in Philadelphia. Hundreds of demonstrators marching and holding a rally in downtown Phoenix. And in Paris tonight, protesters clashing with police in riot gear. Many demonstrations in Europe taking aim at President Trump's policies as well there. Back here in the U.S., into the small town of Mammoth, Wyoming, they're calling this rush hour there. A herd of bison roaming into the town, which sits right there on the edge of Yellowstone National Park. Look at this. They feed on the grass wherever they find it, outside restaurants, a gas station there, the general store. They're really everywhere. The residents say they're getting used to it. Tourists tonight being reminded to keep their distance. When we come back on the broadcast, Diane Sawyer is here tonight with actor Kelsey Grammer, Dr. Fraser Crane, and what he reveals, how he hopes to help others. Finally tonight, Diane Sawyer's powerful interview with Emmy winner actor Kelsey Grammer. After years of making us laugh on Cheers and Frasier, we have learned he did so amid a very personal battle on the inside, broken by the tragic loss of his sister. And now his mission to help others heal.
The eccentric, neurotic, hilarious
Copernicus called, and you are not the center of the universe.
Dr. Fraser Crane. But all this time we were laughing. We had no idea that the actor in real life was drowning in an undertow of sorrow. His colleagues on Cheers saw him battling cocaine and alcohol.
It's remarkable that I survived some of that.
It was tender and touching that they didn't know exactly how to reach you.
Yeah. No, well, who could?
Who could heal the brutal loss of a sister you loved more than anything? He's written a book about her called Karen. One night, they'd been talking on the phone, making plans for a holiday visit, when 6 hours later, there was horror. 3 men on drugs had been raging through Colorado on a killing spree. And in an awful randomness, one of them was his sister.
I cried out loud like a child whose hope had died. I wrote that down.
Our thanks to Diane tonight. The full interview tomorrow morning on GMA. Kelsey Grammer's book, Karen, A Brother Remembers, available Tuesday, May 6th. It's powerful. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.